Hey, this is Daniel Norton. I'm here in my studio in New York City with Maria, and we're gonna make some nice, simple portraits to start with anyways. This video I want to talk a little bit about lighting up people's eyes, because when you're making a portrait of somebody, especially a classic type portrait, the eyes can really kind of define how the viewer might think about that person. You know, big bright eyes or dark, moody can really affect that. So we're gonna play around a little bit with that. And I'm gonna start off just with the classic way that I would light somebody, typically in a flattering or big, like bright eye way. I just have a softbox, it's hanging overhead. This is a Profoto 2x3 softbox and a B2. And I've got the Profoto remote on top of my camera. So I've got Maria sitting here, and what I'm gonna do first is I have my remote turned off, and I wanna set my camera to get rid of all the ambient light in the space as always. So I'm gonna take a photo. That's at 5.6 200th of a second, ISO 100, and we can see that that is a black frame. So there's no detail, that means nothing but my flash will affect my photo. I'm gonna turn my flashes on now. So I'm in TTL. This light in the front is gonna be my A group. And I also have a flash in the back that's going to be the C group to light my background, but I will turn that off for now. Okay, so this is just the front light. I'm just trying to base an exposure. Okay, that's not terrible. And let me turn on my background light just to see what that guy's gonna do. There we go. So because I'm going for kind of a bright look, I'm gonna actually maybe give that one a little bit more light. And again, I'm in TTL right now. What I wanna do is get my exposure where I want it. That looks pretty good. I want it bright, right? Everything ties in. And then I'm gonna switch to manual. Because again, one of the great things about these Profoto lights is they have that ability to switch to manual when you, once you're locked in. I am gonna now grab this reflector. $150 worth of grip to hold a piece of cardboard, and just bring it in underneath. So you'll notice this is just a white piece of board. I have it tilted up slightly, kind of creating a butterfly-ish pattern of light from this one, and then this is giving us an underneath one, which is sometimes called clamshell lighting. And this is going to now bring more light up into her eyes. There we go, and fill it in. So now we have a nice wash of light. You see big, bright eyes. Now I'm gonna make my final exposure evaluation. Once you have your reflector in there, that's what you wanna do, and I think it's a smidge bright, so I'm gonna go to my A channel and just dial it down 0.2 of a stop, and I'm gonna have it lean a little bit towards me, Maria, and then look up a little bit towards me, and then be happy. That's all I have to do is tell people to be happy, and they generally are happy. Yeah, there we go. That's good, but one final thing that I always do that I don't always talk about is I can actually see, even though I'm in flash white balance, all the light bouncing around the room and stuff, it makes it a little bit less than perfect. So I do have a color chart here. Maria just has to hold it up in front of her face or her grill. I'm gonna make a photo of it. This is an X-Rite chart. And then I'm just gonna grab the color from this. And that will neutralize us and give us a good, good color. The other thing I'm gonna do is just change the naming of this to highlight. This way, I will now be able to keep my photos separate. There we go. I'll take that back. If you don't take it back from them all, they sometimes steal it, so. Okay, that should all be locked in. Let's see what we got. So again, nice and pretty. So see if you kind of like just lean in with your whole body like this. What I'm trying to do is the more she leans in, the more she'll get a kickback from that reflector. There we go. See how that brings the eyes up nice and bright? I'm at 70 now. You could use a longer lens too if you wanted, if she's happy. She knows lunch is soon, right? So nice and bright. That's classic, really, really simple, right? But what I really want to mess around with now is kind of the opposite, right? I want to play around with the idea of like making the eyes, hiding the eyes and making the eyes darker, kind of manipulating the emotion of the viewer using lighting. So I'm going to take the softbox off. Toss that over here. So I have a bare reflector head here, and if I were to I'll just turn on the modeling light so you guys can see. It's just gonna, actually, let me take a picture. I'm gonna go back to TTL, because if I don't, then it'll be overexposed, I'm sure. And we can see that's nice hard light, look towards me, right? But she's still lit top to bottom, you know? So that's not what I want. What I wanna do is use my hard light and my shadows to kind of hide part of her face and eyes. And I'm gonna do that by using this flag. So this is a 2 foot by 3 foot flag. And I can basically bring it in and using the shadow edge, right, I can control where the light hits her. Now, you might notice that when I do that, she's still getting a lot of light into her eyes, which is actually still kind of interesting, because I have a reflector here, of course. But the reason why I didn't move this, which might have been one option, could you put your hand on that side of it so it doesn't fall? I'm just gonna loosen it. I'm just gonna flatten it. The reason I didn't move it is because I actually want to use this to produce negative fill, which is basically going to help darken up our shadows. So this is the blanket that I use in the winter when I'm cold. No, this is a piece of Duvetine, which is just black material, absorbs light. It's actually what flags are made out of. This should increase our contrast there. Again, I'm still in TTL. I'm going to have to manipulate my exposure, I'm sure. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Now, I'm not sure I love the way the background light looks. So again, with my controller, I can actually dial it down. I'm going to take it down one stop. I'm still in TTL until I get close to where I want, then I'll switch to manual. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. All right, so I'm going to switch to manual now. I'm going to take my A light, and I'm going to dial it down a smidge too, just to add a little more drama. There we go. And now what I want to do is pretty much have her the way I want. I have you where I want you. I'm going to now leave the modeling light on so I can see. And I'm going to basically have her move closer to me and then further back. Keep going. To create different patterns of light on her face, right? And depending on how you play with this, just turn, there we go, perfect. We can actually get really interesting variety here, right? I will say this is easier to do in a dark space, but I can see pretty well because I have the modeling light on. And I'm letting this kind of like, yeah, that's kind of nice right there. That's nice. So we're getting just that like hint of light into her eyes. And this little side over here is kind of interesting. Just check this. Making sure I'm not blowing out. Look more devious. That's how you look devious? There we go. That made it devious right there. How come you're more devious when you smile than you were? There we go. That's it. Good. One right there. That's nice. Nice. I think a little more profile. That's it. And then chin down a smidge, and then lean towards me. Right there. So again, this is all about, there we go. It's all about manipulating the light to get where we want it. And you can play around with this in a lot of different ways. So I think you get the idea there. The concept here is, sure, lighting up the eyes is going to make somebody more personable and more fun, but it can also make them more mysterious, and it can add all kinds of cool effects to it. So you want to mess around a little bit. Once you get your standard shots, start playing around. Why not? You can get some really interesting stuff, especially when you're working with people that got a lot of personality. So be sure to follow Maria at Maria DeCotis on Instagram, and we'll put the link in the description there so you guys can spell it. Follow me on Facebook, Daniel Norton Photographer. Be sure to subscribe to Adorama TV, and I'll see you next time on set.